Thank you for staying with us. A towering figure in Nigeria's modern history is gone. Former President Muhammadu Buhari has died at the age of 82 on Sunday in a London hospital after a prolonged illness. The former president, who was a former military ruler and two-term civilian president, shaped Nigeria's political landscape for over 4 decades. From his military leadership in the 1980s to his return as a democratically elected president in 2015, Buhari was known for his tough stance on corruption, discipline, and national security. His death marks the end of an era, as President Bola Tinubu described him as a patriot, soldier, and a statesman who served Nigeria with unwavering dedication. Condolences from other leaders and citizens are pouring in as the nation reflects on the legacy of one of its most influential leaders. Joining us in the studio is the convener, Campaign for Dignity in Governance, Razak Bulukoba. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
We also have via Zoom convener, Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative, Dr. Oludari Marindoti. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Veronica. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for having me.
All right, let me begin with you, Dr. Marindoti. Talk to us what you remember the most of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who passed on Sunday. A lot of statements have been coming in concerning his time in office and what was expected of him. And the former President Olusegun Obasanjo said he did his best while in office. A former Minister of Foreign Affairs says that former President Muhammadu Buhari is one person that was misunderstood. From your perspective, looking at these two statements, how do you perceive the persona of former President Muhammadu Buhari and his time in office?
Thanks for that question. This is a very, sad period for the nation in general, regardless of your political divide, we can but, understand that the man was definitely a complex human being like everybody is, and everybody's history is going to be checked out at the end of the day. I could remember back in the 90s, growing up under Babangida regime, and my parents would tell me about the order that, Buhari brought. A lot of people may not remember that the, Environmental Sanitation Day that we have right now was started by him doing this as a part of his war against indiscipline. I could remember also the first time I actually was actively engaged in electioneering and campaigning was for Buhari. I actually sang the song for him in 2014 into 2015, condemning the PDP and all. And this man, came into office. He's a man of utmost, incontrovertible integrity. Even his fiercest critic, even fella that went to jail under his military rule, could not criticize him for being corrupt, which is, we know what he said about other leaders. So this is a testament that even his detractors admit that he is a man that is very of utmost uprightness. And, when we look at also his history, his sojourn from being a military man, this man came in at both times when Nigeria was in dire need. And he was a soldier that soldiered on. I'm not going to, advocate for truncating democracy, but even when he came in 1983/84, that was during the time where we had the oil glut, and then the price of oil in Nigeria was so low that, the regime of Shagari was unable to, cope with the bills of Nigeria. And Buhari came in and tried to bring sanity into, the system. And, which he did achieve. However, maybe some of the economic policies that probably might have been needed to diversify our economy at that time were not followed through. But we have to understand that even the coup that brought him in was maybe the least bloody coup, and the one that took him out was bloodless coup. This was because the man never resisted. He didn't do it because of his quest for power. He did it because he wanted to make a change. And when people decided to plan a coup against him, he did not fight back. And if you fast forward into the, Abacha regime when it was brought back, I think the only light in the tyrannical regime of Abacha was probably, Muhammadu Buhari with his PTF fund, and how he was able to efficiently, manage that. And then let's now fast forward to his coming back. This man also taught us perseverance. It is not easy to try to run for, office 4 times. And, it typifies the saying, first you don't succeed, try and try and try again. He kept on trying and he won. So even his detractors should be able to learn from that perseverance. And when he came into power, we can't forget the fact that at that point too, the world also was having an economic change, and these things both in the 80s and in 2015 when it came to power were not things that Nigeria could control. It was essentially a lot of trouble in the Middle East, and the Middle East and the West fighting, and then there was those economic challenges that brought down the value of oil, which was the only thing that we were trading. So the value of the currency had already started being devalued before he came in. So he came in like a soldier, like a knight in shining armor, in an attempt to rescue the country. And we must not forget, so he met that economic downturn, which he was riding through. And then by his second time, there was COVID-19. COVID-19, nobody was moving. All factories were shut down. So we were not making money from oil. So which was also part of what exacerbated. So while people, our economic, doldrums, so while people might blame him, we should be able to show a bit of sophistication in interrogating with the history of this man that, yes, like they will say, the road to hell is paved in good intention, but good intention is the first step before you can actually get yourself out of an economic downturn. So this man had good intention. He was a patriot. You might not like him. He might not have been able to achieve the things he wanted to achieve, but you cannot in any way deny his good intention and his love for his country. And, this is a sad period. My heart goes out to his wife and family. And just before I wrap it up, I must also say he was a funny man. We all remember the other room, which is going to now be closed since the general with the key has hung his boat and reading into the sunset. And it's going to be, after this period of mourning, a period where we have to celebrate his life and be able to contextualize the history and the richness that his existence has brought into our polity and to our nation.
Right.